Welcome, and thank you for joining us for part 4 of the STCR podcast, covering the benefits of self-service solutions amid the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Farrell McKenna, STCR General Manager, and I will now hand it over to our panel to continue the conversation.
Let's go to the next question. So Alex, we'll start with you on this one. So, looking at your customers in the store, worried about using self-checkout, maybe feeling more comfortable with the shopper assistants kind of not right in their face, or that they see the lanes being clean. How have they embraced it during this time? I mean, have you seen an uptick versus prior? Kind of what have you seen from your customers in self-shopping in the store?
Well, I will definitely, we saw, obviously, people were using them more because, again, we didn't have the cashiers, to staff our checkout lanes as we usually do. So people just wanted to get out the store. So I think a lot of people that were hesitant to use self-checkouts saw it as no choice. But also not having that interaction with the cashiers in the beginning, we didn't have sneeze guards up. None of us expected, or we weren't ready, like Frankie had mentioned before. So, people didn't want to go to a checkout and talk to a cashier and be present. So, I mean, I think customers have embraced, the self-checkouts, right? It's a machine, just as long as they're cleaning them, right? Like Roseanne had said, that they feel that they're sanitized and cleaned. Obviously, during these times, we're doing a better job with that, right? And I definitely see a bright future for self-checkouts, because a lot of people that were hesitant to use it, now that they don't want to be in front of a human being because of obviously COVID-19. So yeah, the customers embraced it. I mean, we've had them for a while now. We do have some stores, locations that do not have self-checkouts, and I wanted to kick myself for moving so slowly and not ordering them. But definitely the customers have embraced them. Yeah, I would say.
All right, good feedback. So Frankie, with you, same question. So your customers, have they embraced them more than before? What's kind of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say the majority of the customers are definitely embracing it more than before. Like Alex had mentioned, the majority of the younger clientele prefer self-checkouts. Personally, I prefer self-checkouts anywhere I go to shop. But when it comes to the older clientele, that's where it usually gets a bit iffy. Some of them complain that it's taking jobs, and we have to explain to them that that's not accurate. That whoever, all this allows us to do is, instead having somebody scanning your items, they're just packing out your cereal instead. You have some that say that they like the interaction with the cashier, but when you take that interaction away because you have sneeze guards up, or the cashier has a mask on and you have a mask on, there's no interaction anyway. So that goes away. So they start saying, all right, well, I guess the self-checkout isn't a bad option now. So for the majority, yes, they definitely started opening their minds to the self-checkout if it was close to it before. Some still are a little iffy on the self-checkout. Even if we had a sanitizing stand right next to the self-checkouts for that same reason that Roseanne mentioned, to keep them sanitized. And some customers are still iffy on it. All the employees have their own gloves. We have gloves that we're handing out to customers if they wish, masks as well. So even with that, they're still a little iffy on using something that was just touched by somebody else. They rather, some customers, very few, rather just go, put their things down, let the cashier scan it, which the cashier's touching their items anyway. So you're always going to have some people complain. Some people are going to find an excuse to, not go with, with technology and with the future. But I would say, yeah, definitely, I would say 95 to 97% have absolutely no problems with using the self-checkout, and at this moment seem to prefer it.
Yeah, it's interesting listening to some of the information that you guys given already, right? So the younger crowd want to use it. They want to avoid talking to cashiers. But then at the same time, what you said is you put the sneeze guards up, so you can't even communicate anyways, right? So it kind of removes some of that interaction that they were having before. Interesting. Roseanne, how about on your side? What are you starting to see with your customers embracing self-checkout more than before?
When we first installed self-checkouts, especially when we increased from 4 machines in stores to whether not go to 9 or 11, we had some resistance from some of the customers in the store saying we were taking jobs, again, like Frankie said. And even though you try to explain to them, they were very hesitant. But those people, it seems as if they were scared to use the self-checkout. Because once we said, hey, look, we had our attendants say, look, we're not taking anybody's job. Now you're gonna see 2 and 3 people here to help you. And we brought them over, we showed them how simple it is to use the machine. Those same people now are using it by themselves. So I think sometimes people are afraid of the technology. They don't want to make a mistake. They're embarrassed. And if you show them once, or you just kind of have a good personality, bring them over and say, hey, I'll do it for you the first time, that kind of opens them up to the idea of using it. That's how we were able to be successful with that. And during the pandemic, of course, it limits person-to-person contact. So our self-checkout line was longer than any cashier line.
That is excellent, because I think training is the most important thing, right? Training your shopper assistant on how to train the customer so they can answer those concerns that the customer has, right? Because all customers have concerns about taking away jobs. They have concerns about, am I going to break the machine? Am I going to hold up the line? So absolutely, as part of best practices, you definitely want to follow a lot of that training. That's real good feedback. I'll tell you an interesting thing. Just this week, when I was shopping at a few local grocery stores here in Raleigh, North Carolina, I had one where the shopper assistant greeted me with a squirt bottle in his hand, right? Which kind of gave me, as a consumer, a little comfort feeling, knowing, hey, this gal's cleaning the lanes before I get there, right? And I also had one shopper assistant offer me a Clorox Light when they saw me get ready to use the machine. So really just a few operational tweaks that will really make the self-checkout inviting to those customers who are a little leery about touching the device itself.